What does it say that when an American ambassador charged with representing American interests meets with a man who betrayed American intelligence for a foreign power?
This guy wanted to be a spy from the beginning. He would play spy games. He would say that the Israeli Mossad was paying my salary. They're grooming me to work for the United States government.
Can you imagine this? This man was celebrated on an airport runway by a prime minister and welcomed as a national hero for committing one of the biggest spying scandals in American history. His name is Jonathan Pollard. For a paycheck and a diamond ring, he sold an entire room of America's craziest secrets to a country that was supposed to be a friend, Israel. His betrayal was so insane that prosecutors said it was one of the worst spy cases in U.S. history. He spent 30 years in jail and was the only American to ever get a life sentence for spying for an ally. And now, not only is he free, he's a hero to the Israeli far right, and he's openly calling for the annexation of Gaza. In a move that shocked the U.S. intelligence community, he was recently welcomed into the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem by America's own ambassador. This is the insane story of how a spy who betrayed his country became a hero to another. So who even is this guy? Jonathan Pollard was brilliant, but people who knew him said he was arrogant and basically lived in a fantasy world. As a student at Stanford, he would tell his classmates these crazy stories, claiming he was already a secret agent for the Mossad. It was all a complete lie. He even applied to the CIA, but they turned him down because he used drugs. But you won't believe this. Despite these massive red flags, in 1979, he got a job as an intelligence analyst for the U.S. Navy. This is where his fantasies and his extreme pro-Israel views turned into a huge problem. Pollard said his big reason for spying was that he thought the U.S. was hiding intelligence from Israel, putting it in danger. He claims his boss once said about a new weapon, "Let the Jews lose a few planes and they'll figure it out for themselves." Pollard said that was the moment he snapped. "I know I crossed a line," he said, "but I had no choice." But the prosecutors told a totally different story. This guy was all about greed and ego. He wasn't giving information away for free, he was selling it. He got paid thousands of dollars and got insane gifts like a diamond and sapphire ring for his wife. And it wasn't just Israel. He had already offered to start a secret spy channel with South Africa and tried to sell secrets to other countries. His bosses thought he was a total kook, and one even said, "I wish the hell I'd fired him." But somehow, Pollard kept his security clearance and had access to a mind-blowing amount of America's secrets. Between 1984 and 1985, Jonathan Pollard started what prosecutors would call one of the most destructive spy missions in American history. We're not talking about a few documents. Pollard literally emptied America's intelligence agencies. Every 2 weeks, he would bring giant piles of classified documents to his Israeli handlers in a Washington, D.C. apartment. There was so much paper that his handlers had to use a special high-speed copier just to photograph everything before he snuck the originals back. The secrets he sold were insane. He handed over huge parts of the NSA's entire playbook, called the RASIN Manual. This thing explained exactly how the United States spies on signals all over the world. It was the blueprint to America's ears, showing who the NSA was spying on and how. He exposed America's spy methods, its secret sources, and what it was looking for in countries like Syria, Egypt, Pakistan, and the Soviet Union. And the damage might have been even worse. For years, U.S. spies have worried that some of the secrets Pollard gave Israel may have been traded to the Soviet Union to get Soviet Jews released. This trade could have gotten U.S. agents in the USSR caught or even killed. But we still don't have proof. The full damage is still classified. But a 1987 CIA report said what he did seriously wrecked U.S. interests. By the fall of 1985, Pollard's world was completely falling apart. He was grabbing so many classified documents, way more than he needed for his job, that he was finally setting off alarm bells. He wasn't even doing his real work anymore, and his bosses noticed his weird requests for top-secret files. The walls were closing in. On November 21, 1985, knowing he was being watched, Pollard and his wife made a run for it. They went straight to the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C., thinking they'd be welcomed as heroes. I mean, he'd spent the last year spying for them, so he expected them to save him. But when the Pollards showed up, freaking out and begging for help, the embassy gates stayed shut. After a crazy standoff, Israeli guards, who were definitely ordered by their government, literally kicked them off the property. The country he betrayed his own for just threw him out on the street for the FBI agents who were waiting for him. He was arrested right there. Israel immediately said they had nothing to do with him, claiming it was a rogue operation. His handler, an Israeli colonel named Aviam Sela, fled the country. In a coded phone call after his arrest, Pollard told his wife to water the cactus, their signal that he was caught and she needed to warn everyone. But it was too late. Pollard was caught, and the U.S. government was just starting to realize how catastrophic his treason was. After his arrest, Jonathan Pollard pleaded guilty to spying, hoping it would get him less time in prison. He tried to act sorry in court, saying, "I broke trust, ruined, and brought disgrace to my family." But the government knew how much damage he had caused, and they were not buying it. They went for the biggest punishment possible. The Secretary of Defense, Caspar Weinberger, sent a secret memo to the court explaining the enormous damage Pollard had done. In 1987, Pollard was sentenced to life in prison, the only time an American has ever gotten that sentence for spying for an ally. His wife got 5 years. For almost 30 years, Pollard sat in a federal prison. While he was locked up, his case became a huge problem for the U.S. and Israel. Israel, which had totally abandoned him at first, started to change its story. In 1995, it made him an Israeli citizen while he was still in an American prison. By 1998, the Israeli government finally admitted he was a paid spy and started begging for his release. Every Israeli prime minister pushed American presidents to let him go. But the U.S. intelligence community was furious and fought back hard, never forgiving his betrayal. In 2006, the director of the CIA, George Tenet, reportedly threatened to quit if President George W. Bush set Pollard free. To them, Pollard was the ultimate traitor who sold his country out for cash. After 30 years, Jonathan Pollard was finally paroled in 2015. He got out of prison but had to stay in the U.S. with a curfew and an ankle monitor. Then in 2020, right at the end of the Trump administration, the Justice Department let his parole end, and he was finally free to leave the country. Pollard immediately moved to Israel. He and his wife flew on a private jet owned by the billionaire Republican donor Sheldon Adelson. And when they landed, you won't believe who was waiting for them on the tarmac. The Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. In front of cameras from all over the world, Netanyahu hugged the convicted spy, gave him a new Israeli ID, and said, "You're home." The man the U.S. saw as a traitor was now officially a national hero. And he didn't just retire quietly. He got financial support and became a public figure. He started doing interviews, showing zero regret, and claiming the U.S. had stabbed Israel in the back. He also started getting into extremist politics, supporting far-right activists and saying that no Israeli government is legitimate until it stops expelling Jews from Judea and Samaria. The craziest part of the Jonathan Pollard story happened in July of 2025. Mike Huckabee, the U.S. ambassador to Israel, had a secret meeting with Pollard inside the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem. This friendly meeting, as Pollard called it, was the first time in over 10 years a U.S. official had hosted the convicted spy inside a U.S. government building. The meeting was totally off the books and reportedly alarmed the CIA's top agent in Israel. The White House later said it had no idea it was happening. Former diplomats said the meeting was insane and that it was just a way to make a traitor look good. For critics, it was the ultimate sign that a U.S. ambassador was prioritizing his own politics over the security of America. Today, Pollard is louder than ever. He has announced he's running for the Israeli Knesset, their parliament. His platform is wild, calling for the full takeover of Gaza and suggesting its Arab residents could be moved out, even joking they could go to Ireland. He's attacked the current Israeli government and has become a hero for the most extreme people in Israeli society. The story of Jonathan Pollard is an absolutely insane web of loyalty, betrayal, and politics. If you want to see another crazy story about espionage, check out our video on capturing the Navy's most prolific spy. And you have to subscribe for more insane deep dives into history's craziest stories. So this guy went from a U.S. Navy analyst to a convicted felon, and from a federal prisoner to a celebrated hero of the far right. Jonathan Pollard's journey is one of the most unbelievable stories of conflicting loyalties. In the United States, his name is basically another word for treason. The intelligence community sees what he did as one of the worst security disasters in modern history, all for money. But in some parts of Israel, he's seen as a patriot who gave up his freedom for the security of his country. His hero's welcome by the Prime Minister and his private meeting with a U.S. ambassador show just how differently the two allies see his crimes. The Pollard story is a shocking reminder that in the world of espionage, one nation's traitor can literally become another nation's hero.